Okay, y'all. I think we'll get ready. Um, Hello, everybody. My name is Jaik Faulk. I'm the visual arts director here at Acadiana Center for the Arts. Um, Quite a bit of my job is done in the galleries here at ACA. So I do all the exhibitions and those kind of things. And then on top of that, my assistant, Emma, over here, and myself work on exhibitions as well as public art initiatives. Um, and one of the major public art initiatives we've been doing over the past almost 10 years, we started in 2015, is the ArtBox initiative. So today I'll give you some info about the process, how many we're going to be doing in this new initiative, and we'll answer a few questions, and I'll make sure that you leave feeling confident in being able to participate in this call for artists. This is a Creative Acadiana session. There's a number of Creative Acadiana workshops and seminars. We had a artist roundup last night. We're doing this today. We'll have more throughout the fall. My colleague Anna Kajivnikov heads that program up, as well as Gwen Richard. They really kind of do a lot of the professional practices and working with organizations locally. So I want to acknowledge that. And then we've got Brewster Durbin over here, who's all around talented young artist and marketing whiz. And today running the boards on technology. So thank you. We are doing a Zoom. This is being recorded for posterity. We're going to make the audio and video and this presentation as well available maybe in a week or two's time. I'm not really sure how quickly it turns around. But I will get that to you, and you can always reach out to me through my email. It's Jaik, Jaik, at Acadiana Center for the Arts.org. And there's links online and whatnot, and you can always call and that kind of thing. And I would be remiss if I also didn't mention that the Creative Acadiana series is supported by the Atchafalaya National Heritage Area. It's a program that sort of funds cultural initiatives in this area. It's a federal program, and it's a federally recognized area. So we thank them for doing that. So how many of you are familiar with the ArtBox initiative? Just a few of you? Okay. How many of y'all have seen an ArtBox out in the wild? Okay, sweet, awesome. So everybody is aware of the product, the final product that exists out in the world. That's great. That's you're almost halfway there. So the other half is how we get there, right? So it's a public art initiative that is done in partnership with LCG. LCG has graciously made available 20 art boxes and provided funding for us to beautify those boxes. They're traffic light signals, so the boxes themselves contain circuits and tools and whatnot to control the traffic signals. So you're only going to see them on major roadways where there's a traffic signal. So that's a good kind of way of thinking about it. They've been partnering with us since, like I said, 2015, and we've kind of slowly over the years, over that time, created about 25, maybe a few more than that. But by my counts, we have about 25 of them out in Lafayette, in the Lafayette area. This, we're going to get 20 more just from this call to artists. Okay. In the last 2 or 3 years, we've done really well with our call to artists. I think we had maybe like 80 artists submit last time around, and we were able to do a few different rounds of them. So maybe initially we did a call for artists, and maybe we had like 5 or 10 that were up for installation. We did the call, we got 80 participants, 80 applicants, and they said, well, we have so many, we should do 5 more. And then they did that again. Let's do another 5. So in the end, we built out quite a few. I think we might have ended up with maybe 15 total. So that puts us in a good position for this time around. So we're starting with 20. We're hoping to get a lot of applicants, a variety of applicants, a diversity of themes, a diversity of approaches. And that's what I'm going to go through right now. So Design ArtBox. So many of you might have seen this. Today we're here at the info session. This is August 22nd. Our submissions will be due on October 15th. So that gives you roughly about a month and some change, I want to say. Yeah, month and a few weeks to get a design together and put in an application. That application, what we want to see is, you'll have an opportunity to provide a PDF version of your proposed design. And then what we would really like is if you have sort of the file assembled and put together such that it's in a high res file, and we'll go through all this, and you'll upload that file as well. So there's a sketch and a file, and I'll kind of go through that. What's an ArtBox? They're traffic signals that feature original artwork printed on high quality vinyl wraps. So I'll get into this as well. And these art boxes beautify our community and celebrate local culture. So this was from one of the initiatives in the recent past, Charlize West, Powerful Hands in the Laplace neighborhood at Cameron and St. John Street. And Charlize created this template with, I believe there were photos that she had taken of different sign language, the letters sort of giving this kind of inclusive language without words, more through sign language. And it kind of juxtaposes beautifully against that car wash sign with the colors. But the way she did it was she used Photoshop to assemble it and then sent in the template. Let's see what else we got. How does it work? We ask artists to submit a proposal with their original artwork to be installed on any of the proposed sites. I'll show you a map, and we're going to make a map available. Most of these will be along the university corridor. It's actually in a heart shape. It's really kind of cool. You'll see it. And before we were trying to be as specific to place as possible, if if artists are connected to a certain site and have a theme or a design that they feel fits at a particular site, then we'll provide space for you to write that out in your statement. So submissions will be accepted between August 15th and October 15th. The site, our website has a page dedicated to ArtBox and the application, all of our guidelines and the uh the map and template are going to be up on there. And then you get a $500 artist fee if your design is selected and successfully installed. So it's paying artists for their design work, and it's a really good initiative that puts some money in artists' pockets and then has gives artists a chance to kind of show their work out in public. And again, the submission portal is at Acadiana Center for the Arts /ArtBox. So this is our map. This is the proposed sites. These are the ones approved by LCG. If you need a bit of direction, you see this long handle, almost like the Little Dipper, right? That is university, okay? And then the basket part down here, that's more like UL and St. Mary. And it connects with Pinhook there. And then Pinhook jaunts up, and the furthest right and second furthest right are along Pinhook. You've got Carmel Drive, and I see where it connects Pinhook and Willow. And then you can follow Willow over all the way to, you're going past University, past the Evangeline Thruway to Cora. And there's another one, which is Moss. It's Willow and Moss, which is named Cadillac Street. You see that way up there? This is crazy. I didn't know that. And then the furthest one way out there is Alexander, and I believe that's Louisiana Avenue. And then the little cluster of stars right there is 2nd and 3rd Street on the Evangeline Thruway, right? So this idea of it's the core of Lafayette, but it's also that university corridor, that lead into the city, into the historic area of Lafayette, the oldest areas. And again, it makes a sort of heart shape. The two central ones are kind of close to here. That's off of Johnson and Garfield, Cypress area. That one's a really cool one. And then there's another one on Main, I think, Main and Johnson. Does anybody have any questions at this point? Okay, so they're all kind of laid out. What you got? No, you do not need to specify location, but if you have an idea, you're like, oh man, the Carmel Drive one, I remember going past that to go to the bird sanctuary, and I want to kind of honor that, like that might be a nice link, right? And you could do that with so many of these. They're all kind of placed in different areas that I feel like could be a very inspirational kind of thing. So if you find some inspiration from place, great. Again, we'll have a space where you can kind of mention that, but no need to do that. So basically, I'm glad you asked that, because when we corral all the applications, we're going to work with a committee, and that committee made up of neighborhood coterie members. They're going to be community members. They're going to be LCG. They're going to be artists. It's going to be a variety of folks giving input into this, and we're going to really try to place things and work on making sure the pieces are the right fit, for the right locations. And it's gonna be a fluid process, but a fun one. I mean, we got 20 of these things, so there's a lot of opportunity for connection. And another thing, if you've done an ArtBox before, we're completely open. We want ArtBox veterans, folks who have done it before, to submit, and you can submit up to 2 designs. That's kind of the only real stipulation. If you have the creative energy to create 2 designs, we'll gladly accept those. Again, we have 20 boxes, so that leaves a lot of room for a variety of voices. So that's our map there. This is the template. Now we're getting down to brass tacks. So as I mentioned in there, the idea with ArtBox, the ArtBox initiative, is they're vinyl wraps that get wrapped around a traffic box. In order to do that, we need to provide Pixis, who's our partner in this, with a file that corresponds to these proportions. In earlier ArtBox initiatives, we didn't have all this great detail where you've got a blue box, a green box, and a pink box. Well, actually, it did have the blue box, green box, pink box, but it didn't have the measurements. So what's important here is when you're looking at your design, this is going to wrap all the way around the box, and then the one at the top is the top, right? So we're thinking in 3 dimensions, and it's laying out like this. The important stuff that you don't want to lose goes in the blue part, okay? The green part's gonna be, maybe you'll lose some of it, but you're not gonna lose all of it. And then the pink part's your bleed area. So that stuff's definitely gonna get cut and nothing important up there. Why do I mention that? Well, because if you have text that goes across the green and the pink part, you're losing text. If you have the top of somebody's head in that area, you're going to lose that, right? So the idea is to use this template as a model to get exactly what you intend to be out in public. And I have a bunch of examples of how that worked, how it had to be adjusted, and those kind of things in earlier designs. Is everybody on the same page? Got an idea? Okay, sweet. This template, I'm going to make sure that you're able to access this. This should be on our website. If it's not on today, we'll get it very soon, and I'm happy to email everybody that's here and everybody listening online that template. Okay, let's see. Okay, here's one of the early pieces. This is Denise Gallagher. This is downtown, right near what's the restaurant? La Coretta. Yes, right across from La Coretta. It started with this line drawing here. I'm trying to think if it was hand drawn and then maybe imported into a Illustrator file, maybe after the color. That seems to be what was done. So there are a number of ways to do this. You can do it as an analog, what I call an analog, hand-drawn on a piece of paper, painted watercolor, goopy oil paint, mixed media, collage, all these things that exist in the real world. I could do this. If I took a high enough resolution photo of this artwork that's out of the camera angle, so these poor folks on Zoom, but An actual existing artwork can be photographed and can be used for this. What I would request, though, is that you imagine it in this template. How are you going to orient it to be in the template? Because what I've found in my experience with this is beautiful paintings have come through, but maybe they didn't fit the template, and so we're really not a good fit. Or the other thing is the selection committee really couldn't imagine it, which is another thing. I'm not going to be selecting the pieces. I'm going to be administering the committee. And if they can't really imagine it, how it's going to be laid out, then you might be at a disadvantage on a beautiful, something that might be a gorgeous potential design might just be overlooked because it doesn't look like the template, right? So that would be my advice. This is one of the early ones, probably done around 2015. Here's another one. This one is more so what I was talking about, where if you're doing a hand drawing and you're using the template to place the drawing, right? So this is Lauren DeWitt. This one's on UL's campus. It looks like it's just color pencil and, on paper. And it was just photographed at a high resolution. And we'll do that. What you can do is if you choose to do a drawing or a painting, take as good of a photo as you can, especially if it's in a template like this. Take a great photo of it, submit that, and what we'll do is we'll make sure whatever goes to Pixis is as high a resolution as we can. It's kind of tough to do, so we could, if your piece is chosen, we can set up a camera and lighting and that kind of stuff. But for the application, do your best. Make sure that it shows up on a slideshow like this, a PowerPoint, and doesn't look pixelated, because that's another thing the committee is going to look at. If they see it as pixelated, you say, oh, well, I don't know. This doesn't really, is that the way it's going to look out in public? I'm like, I don't know. Hopefully not, but it doesn't bode well for being selected. So, but this is another approach. So this again is probably color pencil on paper, done in 2015. Bert.
Pencil sketch, final art. This has just final art. What would you prefer for the submission process? Sketch or the final art?
Ooh. I would do final art because go for it. Don't skimp. Do a final, because again, the selection committee, that's the thing, is when they see something and it pops and it's exactly what they want right there, great, that's awesome. Whereas if, to Bert's point, if you provide this, it's a great line drawing, this one here, but then you're like, oh, and then we're going to color it in. Well, I don't know what kind of colors you're going to use, and oh, well, maybe a cream background. What does a cream background look like? They might not have that in mind. So I say submit the final design. In the upload, like I said, you can submit a PDF of, let's say, I'm going to skip ahead just a little bit. Follow me. Okay, right here. You can submit a PDF like that. You see it's got labeled top, back, side left, side right, front. Submit a PDF that looks like that, and then provide me with a link to a Dropbox ArtBox or a Google folder or a WeTransfer file, and that can have the big file. It can have your sketches. It can have a text, um, a text file that says, okay, this piece I imagine to be along the corridor of the Evangeline Thruway at either one of these 4 locations. And what it means to me is this. The subject matter is this. And I'll provide all that to the committee. And then, then we're really cooking, But this is Hannah Gumbo. I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with Hannah, but she does a lot of public art and really great at design. She provided this. This was not an analog one. This was it was Adobe Illustrator file, if I remember correctly. And what we had to do is move a bit of the design around. She submitted to me the first one, this one here. And in order to make it make sense at the location, we had to move that tree from that side to this side and then flip that way. So she also had to do a few more changes to it. But those are the kind of things that might happen. So yeah. But you can start to see the way it's laid out, the stuff outside of the green is starting to get cut off. If you see where that triangle terminates up there, that wraps around to the other side. And then this loops around that way. Pretty cool. Yeah. I have a bunch more too. Do y'all have questions at that point? Yeah. Mhm.
Are there any particular guidelines on subject matter? Are they recommended to be, locally inspired?
I think the idea with this, and it's all in the guidelines, so I would read the guidelines. It is meant to be a reflection of place, but the way you take that literally or not literally, kind of, it can be universal and still talk about place. And, so there's a pretty wide level of interpretation. There's a few stipulations on what you can and can't really do. This was sponsored by UL. So this is a very particular thing. And they had to approve all the usage of their logo and copyright and those kind of things. So that's a concern. This should be original art and really shouldn't have anything that's infringing on any other copyrights, those kind of things. Also, it's not supposed to be an advertisement for anything in particular, right? It's for a community. It's for the space. So you want to be cautious about that, where it might be advertisement for a Burger King down the road's not really going to fly, but there was one that I don't have it here. It was an art box that was a sort of a memorial to I forgot her name, but she was a cook in a Northside community, and it was like about the lady who made these amazing dishes. And so that kind of thing, you know, that kind of connection to community works. But go ahead, look at the guidelines, see if there's any kind of things, and I'm happy to answer questions on that and really kind of dig into it as we go. Let's see, let me go backwards a little bit. This is Dirk Guidry, local painter. This is one of those ones where it's an image that's kind of repeated, but it comes from an original artwork, right? And so that ended up working at, I feel like this is Moss and Willow in Louisiana or something. Very, very early version. Okay, here we go. So I kind of covered a little bit of this. So if you decide drawing or painting or collage is your jam and you want to give that a go, use the template is my biggest advice. And you know, it can just be in a long format. If it's a landscape, make it a long landscape format and use the proportions provided by the template as your kind of guide. And if you have important stuff on those seams, you know, push them out. Try to position it so where it makes sense as it wraps around. It's important again to provide a clear idea, both in the resolution of your piece. So, resolution can mean a lot of different things. In the way it looks, a pixelated image is not really going to work too well with the committee, but also a piece that might be jumbled or something like that. So, something that's like, you know, sort of created and exactly what you want, you know, and photograph it as well as you can. Use the template, and again, submit a Google file. You know, submit a PDF sort of thumbnail, if you will, as well as a whole file, and include in that file high resolution images and those kind of things that are a little bit harder to attach to maybe an email or something like that, right? Keep track of your original artwork. I've had folks submit and they kind of lost the artwork. It got damaged, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you got selected for this thing. Like, you're like, I know, I just lost it or whatever. I'm like, well, okay, well, let's see what we can do. And so we kind of work together with this artist, but hang on to the original artwork, treat it very kindly. And like I said, we'll photograph it and we'll help you. We'll photograph it so that it's print ready for the vinyl. So that's the main concern, is getting a high enough quality image for Pixis to turn it around into a large scale piece. Okay. If digital, okay. How many folks are going to work on this in some sort of digital file? Bird and John. Okay. All right. So ideally, Adobe Illustrator is kind of your go-to. I know a lot of people have started to use iPads and things like that to design things. If that's the case, we're going to want to use a vector-based format. For those using digital, do you know you're familiar with vector-based formats? Awesome. So vector-based formats allow us to blow up images and ideas to grand scale. And that's what we need for these, especially if they're coming from a computer program, an application, that kind of thing. and save all the files. It's okay. Like, you can put them on a thumb drive and bring them to me later if we can't transfer them over email. But that's another problem that I've had is, the original files disappear or not saved properly. And then I can't go back to move the leaf that was positioned in one place where I needed to move it. So, save often, and then that's what you'll provide via Google Drive link or a WeTransfer or a Dropbox. So other formats for vector-based. So if you're using Adobe Illustrator, you're in good hands. Save it as a Adobe Illustrator file, and we're golden. We can work with that. This is straight from Pixis. The other formats that are going to work for us are a vector PDF or an EPS file format. And then the AI one, of course, is an Adobe Illustrator file. If you're using, well, there you go. That's vector-based files here. So again, they're kind of, they don't get pixelated when you stretch them, when you make them bigger, right? They're very useful for this type of stuff. Okay. Other vector-based files are SVG, and I don't think we want to mess with SVG with this project. But AI, the Adobe Illustrator, EPS, PDF will do what we need them to do. And then Affinity Design Suite, if you don't have Adobe Illustrator, I find that's the kind of the next best thing. It allows you to read Adobe files, but it doesn't allow you to write Adobe Illustrator files. And with Affinity Design Suite, you can buy it without a subscription. You buy it as a one-time kind of thing. So if you're interested in that type of stuff, that's one thing I've found. There are multiple other ones that will work for you. Let's see what else we got. Oh yeah, websites. Okay, here we go. So this is a design file that we had to move around a little bit. And each one of these little things was part of a layer. So because it was an Adobe Illustrator file, it was pretty easy to move them around a little bit. There's that was embedded in the top. I had to change the color. The color wasn't matched up, so but those are all vector-based images, and they can just grow and whatnot. So I had to flip things around a little bit. I had to move the text and move a bunch of the leaves in the format of this one to fit, and I'll show you why it had to fit that way. See that thing? And that pipe? We had to move stuff so that it's not in the way. Same thing with this right here. So she originally had this one on this and that one on this. So we had to flip those so that that box up at the top wasn't interfering with the text. So little things like that, no matter which way you go, we'll have to deal with them. Roz, what you got? Well, it's going to change. It's going to change on each box. It's going to change on it, but that's okay. I'm looking out for you. If you're selected and we got a box and it looks like that, then we can move things around because it's going to happen. Those traffic boxes all have, every one of them has that. So what we'll do is move the design around And we'll go back and forth with the artist. We're like, well, we have this one kind of space here. Are you okay with us doing this? So that's the way I usually work with artists once they're selected. And so, if you're working digitally and you have an Adobe Illustrator file and you're keeping everything nice and neat in your layers, we are good. We are good to go because we can adjust all that. If you're making original artwork, um, you know, is it a matter of, it might just be a matter of moving it around the box. What you thought was going to be the front is now going to be the back, but it's a long landscape, think of it that way. And we can kind of move that landscape over so it comes back around and meets itself. So, yeah, so it's a process, but it's not too daunting. You will lose one side of these. I mean, there's no two ways about it. Almost every art box is going to have that pipe coming up and the little control box. So if you're stuffing it full of really interesting things, just know you're going to lose some of that. So really the broad side is really the side where you're going to have text or prominent text, I should say. If it's a text-based piece, and you're just filling it with text, that might look really cool. You're going to lose it. So make sure that you're kind of considering that. There's one that's not in here that's over near the old Jefferson Street pub. And you'll notice it's a bunch of flyers. And those flyers actually get lost up at the top. But it's kind of cool because it's like real flyers. That's what happens in real life when you put them on a telephone pole, But we had to move that one around as well. So there you go. So this is another part of the process. So I go to each location, I measure all these things, and I send it over to Pixis along with your files. And then they're placing it. So the one here is the mock-up, and the one there is what it actually looks like. And it's pretty close, There's not really much variation to it. When they do a mock-up, that's what it's going to look like. And they're stretching it over all these angles. So that's where those blue and red marks kind of come in. That's where you're going to start losing detail. But they're really good at it. They do a great job. And they last a long time. A lot of them, again, were done in 2015. And that's 10 years ago, and they look brand new. So it's pretty cool. This is Blake Broadhead. This is off of Johnson Street. We had to move a lot of his stuff around. A lot of his text kind of ended up being positioned in odd spots. So we had to work with the artist a little bit and kind of position things. And we lost some parts of the drawing, but I think overall it kind of worked out pretty darn well. Bert Durand. So Bert did this one. This was 2021, maybe something like that. So this one worked almost perfectly right out of the gate because Bert was doing, or actually right out of the gate, you just did one file and that was it, right? So at each of these seams, you see how I just kind of lost the really important detail, and it was just like fluttery confetti. Like that stuff can wrap around with no problem, And that's another thing too, is considering that wraparound. Also, I feel like the darkness of the design really lent itself to making all the uneven spots kind of disappear. Actually, I don't see much of those control panels, but they must be on that other side. And then the top's something to consider too. So Bert's got the accordion on the top, which when you walk by in person, you look down, it's there. You know, it's nice, beautiful kind of surprise, if you will. If you drive past it, you're not going to see it, but that's a nice surprise. Whereas Blake didn't put it, and sometimes you walk up and you go, oh, I wish there was something on top. So so good job, Bert. This one rocked. So it was really easy because again, the design just kind of like fit so well. And it fit the neighborhood. You know, it was Macomb Vise. You can see the on the on the on the accordion, you know, he placed it in a very particular spot with very particular characters and folks from the neighborhood. So it was very place specific, and I think it fit perfectly. Cool. All right. Anybody have questions? I'm going to go back to this little template after seeing all that good stuff. Any Zoom questions? Okay, cool. Oh, hey. Yes, yes, yes. I've just received this one today with the fresh measurements and the outline kind of stuff. So give me a day or two to put it up online, and I'll get that up there and you can download them. It kind of outlines all the stuff that I was saying. You know, I feel like the process is pretty fun. It's a challenge to kind of think of a very specific design for things and kind of stretch your artistic sensibilities. So yeah, you know, print this out, work on it by hand. If you have it, so there's I think there's two different templates we have online. One's in
today, it's all PDF.
Right. I think you can take the SVG and pop it into a file. If I'm not mistaken. Bert, confirm or both? What's that? Either or. Okay, cool, sweet. Yes. So then you can put it right in your file. The idea, so the big thing, the big hurdle is that, you know, these things go from a design this big to a design this big, you know, and you really want to kind of give it as much of a chance of kind of growing like that. So with the files, that's the vector-based thing, and with original artwork, it's really photographing it really well so that I can do that. John?
This is a lot easier to do than making a sound scale wise.
Oh yeah.
Because it's ideally it prints at 72 DPI. So anything you design, as long as you design it at 300 and it's 1/4 of this size, you know that you can grow it 4 times, which brings it to the size it needs to be. And you divide that 300 by 4, and you're going to get 72, which is the optimal print size, print DPI. So this that you have all drawn out here, which is really nice and helps everybody. If you try to design something that big in your computer,
Oh yeah, no.
it's going to crash it instantly because
Yeah.
your computer can't support
No.
this.
Yeah.
So
it's really about the proportion.
right, it's about size and doing everything at scale. So I'll do stuff like this sometimes at 10% scale.
Right, and if it's vector based, it's going to grow. So that's
you just have to, don't be scared of it. Just work small and
yeah,
with incredible detail.
yeah. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's the key to the vector based stuff. Now, if it's a photo, you're working in, you know, I guess if you're working in Photoshop, that would be a different thing,
Well,
right?
I even if it's a photo, I'll still scan my photo into Photoshop
at the DPI I want to work in.
Mhm.
So if I intend to work in it, I'll work in it at the scale I intend it to be right then.
Right
I'm not gonna, it just makes it easier.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's the same thing for, if you guys can scan anything, you go to Kinko's
Exactly,
or any
yeah,
place like
yeah.
that, scan it at 300 DPI and there's your file, you can bring it in, even if it's original art.
Yeah, yeah.
Just design it at scale, paint it at scale, scan it at 300 and you're good.
There you go. Okay. Cool beans. And we're here for technical help and that kind of stuff. You can always reach out and, yeah. And actually it tells you right there, files should be sent as either Photoshop files at 100 DPI or as vector based. So it's got stuff and I'm happy to answer questions and all that. And, yeah. What else? What am I forgetting? So October 15th is the kind of close date for submissions. We're going to assemble the committee. We're going to pull those submissions. We're going to have a few meetings where that committee is going to go over all of the submissions. They're going to pick pieces that are going to be matched to sites. And then I'm really hoping if we can get these out in the wild at the beginning of next year, we're doing good. It really shouldn't take too long past that. So that's my hope. So
Notice all the sites.
yes, got it. So that map is it should be big enough for you to zoom in on it. But if not, I'll provide a different one. It should have been a pretty scalable one. But yeah, those 20 sites are gonna be really cool. So, and yeah, I'm excited to see stuff that everybody's working on. So really cool. Sweet. Well, thank y'all so much. Again, you can download the guidelines. Most of all the info you're ever going to need is going to be in that. And if you need more guidance in that, reach out. The guidelines have submissions at Acadiana Center for the Art. That connects to both Emma and I. And then you can send me a direct email at Jaik, Jaik, at acadianacenterforthearts.org. So either one of those works, and I'm happy to help. So thanks so much for coming out, y'all, and we'll see you at the next Creative Acadiana. So thanks.